Thundering across the stars to save the universe from constant dystopian future visions. Terry searches for his moment as Brandon continues to speak without pausing, even for breath. Lore, guests, chats, and sometimes even staying on topic. Wildcast Live! Wild Space Wildcast Go! Across hyperspace rivers we ride tonight, through worlds of steel and neon light, exploring stories far and wide, with chaos always by our side. Wild Space Saga on YouTube, Wild Space Saga Live. Pirates, tanks, strange worlds collide. Wild Space Saga Live. Brandon's still talking somewhere out there. Terry's trying to get a word in. Wild Space Saga Live. Wild Space Wildcast Go! Thundering across the stars to
All right, greetings YouTube. This is Brandon Hill here with Terrence Pegasus, and together we are the creators of Wild Space Saga, the epic sci-fi adventure series that you didn't know you needed. And this is the Wild Space Wildcast, made specifically to tell you exactly why you need it, and as we've been around for a hot minute in relative silence on DeviantArt, what you've been missing. But before we begin, take a moment to subscribe and hit that beautiful notification bell so that you won't miss a single bit of news, events, and live streams from our channel. Whether you catch us live or watching after the fact, we want you to join us on the Northwest Passage. And finally, if we piqued your interest, links to our books available on paperback and ebook, as well as everywhere else you can find us on the social medias, are available down in the doobly-doo. And speaking of the doobly-doo, we did notice that the link to our books is broken, and we'll be fixing that after the fact. So don't worry about that. We didn't only just now notice that. So I don't know why that's happened, but it has. But let me see here. We got people in the comments section already. Let me go ahead and fire up. Hello, Finn. Welcome back. Let me see here. Give me a moment. Let me fire up a little bit of music.
Well, first,
a second ago.
my last, my everything. Other than I messed up. Forgot to put my everything on the end, but I was doing a bit of Barry White for him.
Oh my God.
Last, my everything.
But thank you everyone for joining us, Wild Space Wildcast. And just as a reminder of our new book, Twisted Faith, available where fine books are sold in paperback and hardcover and in ebook. Great book, has great characterization. Terry and I are currently hard at work on book 4 and a lot of other cool things in the background that we're going to be presenting to you really soon. I even have a nice little short web comic that I'm working on our DeviantArt page. About to be working on the next page, kind of a little bit behind on that. Also, we also found some resources that might get certain things out, but we want to kind of keep the lid on that for right now. But, we've got a lot of great things coming around the corner. And for those of you who watched this coming out from DeviantArt, know I haven't updated it with a lot of new stuff outside of the comic lately, and that's just because we have been so busy and doing all kinds of stuff in the background. We will be having more work. We will be having more artwork coming through for those of you who like our concept art. For those who haven't,
ultimately, because we're under contract with the books, we have to focus on that more than we have to prioritize that over all the other content.
Yes, writing is the most important thing, but we'd love to get our concept art out. I'm always sketching stuff at work, so I got.
And I still have more of these tunes in my head. Yeah.
This is a particular one that I really liked because Terry had made it based off the Space Hippies, which are a part of Wild Space Saga.
Sorry to butt in, Brandon. Basically, because as you know, that anyone who's following the channel knows I'm doing what's called the faction focus series of tunes at the minute. This will be one of them because the Space Hippie fleets are still a legitimate faction. within our universe. So I've made sure they get equal treatment.
Yep, and as a matter of fact, speaking of which, I was and look at that, who just dropped in, and let me add some to our stage.
Oh,
just
Michael.
Is it
welcome. Glad to see you back again.
Hey, so I don't know about you guys, but yesterday my wife and I went out and saw the best movie of the 21st century, The Odyssey. Have either of you seen it yet?
Not really. I don't really have any interest in watching it. It just really didn't tickle my pickle, as the term would go.
What about you, Terry?
Oh yeah, I've been because I've finally started my new job. I've been doing every shift under the sun. So
I will tell you, I get it. Like, I normally don't go for the fantasy genre as much, like, which the Odyssey is Greek mythology, and not generally my bag. But this is truly an all-star cast, headed by Matt Damon, and it's so well acted. But not just that, Christopher Nolan, he has this tendency, like with Batman, he'll take something that's fantastical and try to make it feel a little more grounded. So how do you do that with a 100-foot tall Cyclops monster and a 7-headed Hydra and a giant whirlpool that sucks boats into hell? I don't know, but he did. And like the Cyclops was one of the scariest movie monsters I think I've ever seen.
I don't know. To me, it's got to go. That one's got to go pretty far to be, scarier to me than the Cthulhu from the Relic.
Well, give it a try, my friend. It's you may be pleasantly surprised, or because I never. I never really thought of anything from Greek mythology as being particularly scary until yesterday.
Oh no, for me, I love Greek mythology, and the Greeks had a hell of an imagination.
Definitely.
From when it came to coming up with monsters that were truly horrifying. I mean, the Odyssey is one of my favorite Greek tales. I've read it more times than I care to count.
Wait. If you love the Odyssey, why won't you go see the movie?
Because it just didn't really interest me. The movie just did not look like it was something that I particularly would care for.
Well, I think you should. I think you may be pleasantly surprised. Now, I don't know how closely it follows the original because I've never read the Odyssey. And so all I know is what they show in this. And I know some people have been pissed off because of the race swapping that took place in it. Like Lupita, I can never pronounce her last name correctly, but beautiful, dark African woman. She plays
Nyong'o.
Thank you. She plays Helen of Troy. And now, granted, she has a total of maybe 14 lines in the entire movie. But there is the line that she is the face that launched 1,000 ships, and looking at Lupita's face, I could believe that. I have
no doubt that Lupita is very beautiful.
Yeah.
I know they had a lot of problems. Now, even I got an issue with race swapping in Hollywood because they do it so much in the name of right. Diversity in this day and age. And I don't like to get into that in this thing, but I'm just saying it's becoming a pet peeve of mine that they do it in places where it is completely unnecessary.
Right, because Odysseus is basically just trying to get home. Right, that's the Odyssey is literally just a trip home. But he's got his crew on his ship, and they show like a shot of all the men rowing the oars of the ship. And and don't get me wrong, like I said, I already said this is like the best movie of the 21st century, but it was a little jarring to see the crew of this Greek warship that had the most diverse crew since Star Trek: The Original Series. There was an Asian guy, a couple of black guys, a couple of Arab guys, and by the way, Athena was the goddess Athena was played by Zendaya, and so it's like a little like kind of jarring, if you will, because I know these are all supposed to be Greeks. At the same time, I didn't care when they cast Idris Elba in Thor. And so I'm not going to get worked up over this either.
I think when it comes to fantastical tales, there's a bit more leeway through it, but because again, it's a myth, it's a legend. So getting the best actor for the part rather than making sure they're all Greek, I think to me, I give that a little bit of a bit more freedom to do that. It's like anime, though, isn't it? Where they've all got Japanese names, and yet this guy's meant to be a hired-in agent from Europe, and yet he's still called Sarazawa or something, isn't it?
Well, plus, like in anime, I always think it's funny in anime when you have like the white person, the Japanese person, the black person, and the Hispanic person all standing next to each other, and the only difference physically is their skin color. Like their eyes are the same shape, their noses are the same, their mouths are the same, but their skin color slightly different. Because but that's just anime. That's the style. Because you draw pretty much every character the same.
Well, I mean, also with the Odyssey,
just for Darren saying, does race swapping ever go the other way? It did once, and it didn't go well, and it involved John Wayne. There
was complaining about the whole race swapping thing in if you remember the movie Cloud Atlas, which I personally loved, but they complained about people race swapping when it came to the characters who were supposed to be Asian, but they these people failed to realize the whole concept of the story was sort of a theme of reincarnation. So you had all the same characters in the story playing different people in all those different places and time frames. So that was the reason why they did the makeup for Hugo Weaving to make him look Asian in that futuristic South Korea and whatnot. So they were all supposed, and I think they had one where they had one character who was black and they did makeup on to make him look white. And and then Hugo Weaving making the ugliest woman you have ever seen, and that one that would look like the British comedy.
Yeah, but he was Priscilla once, so
movie, but
didn't bother him.
What? Wait, y'all were both talking at the same time.
I said he was Priscilla once, Queen of the Desert, so
And I was just saying, I've not seen Cloud Atlas, but now after hearing Hugo Weaving as a Korean woman or something, no.
He was a man in that particular.
So he's a man in Korea, but he was a woman somewhere else.
Yeah, they had one of the. Okay, it was multiple storylines across different timelines. About like 6 different storylines. One taking place in the 1700s. I think 16 or 1700s. One taking place in the Victorian era. One taking place in the 1970s. One taking place in the modern era in the UK. Another taking place in the not too distant future, and about 100 years in the future in like South Korea, and then one taking place like over 1,000 years later in a post-apocalyptic Hawaii. So, yeah.
I had just to see Finn, I had a feeling this sort of question would come up when we mentioned space hippies. It's not quite like the 1960s hippie movement in that sense. More the sort of the pacifism and the free thinking kind of style of not being under a single authority, in that sense. They're more about freedom of expression. They barely have any weapons on their ships, enough to really defend if they have to, but they're known for having some of the most powerful shields instead. So you can bombard them for weeks, you still won't break their shields. In fact, most attackers are going to run out of ammunition or power before they ever break through their shields instead. So then they don't have to fight. Though some of the hippie things, they're not above hiring a mercenary to fight for them if it gets really dangerous.
Yeah, I wanted to get the subject back on that. Recently, Terry and I were talking about, yeah, you're right, it isn't about free love and LSD. They do have recreational substances, but they're very responsible with that. However, it was something that Terry and I were talking about the other day, because yesterday actually he was showing me pictures that he was just kind of feeding in a chat GPT just to get an idea.
I've done some renders for some of the upcoming music stuff, basically, to go with the space hippie stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I would think of this. So the hippies, the 60s hippies, were, the idea was to rebel against the establishment of that day, the conservative standing of the government. What do your space hippies rebel against?
It's a very similar concept. Sorry, Brandon, because you've got the Second Imperium, which is a very brutalist regime, very ordered, very oppressive.
Right.
They control their narrative. People are indoctrinated and everything. You've got the Alliance, which is worlds who they don't all very much like each other, but they see the benefit of working together when you've got the Imperium next door. Space pirates want to do their thing, but they don't want to be a part of any of that. They just want to live.
Let me ask you this, though, Terry. I want to just push back a little bit, just playing devil's advocate. If these hippies are rebelling against what you just described as a very oppressionist, brutal regime, wouldn't that regime just put them down? Why?
That's just one faction. What I'm saying is they don't really like the Alliance's way of doing things either.
Okay.
And then you've got the space pirates who are pretty free thinking, but again, they still have a king. They still have a ruling house. And what the hippies want to do is, we're in space. Let's enjoy this. Let's just be people. Let's not fight for stuff. Let's not fight over resources. Let's not,
Can't we all just get along?
We left Earth. We came all the way across the galaxy to leave a lot of these problems behind.
Right.
So why aren't we doing that?
Space hippies are basically if Burning Man became a space fleet. Oh, sort of, kind of. Maybe not that wild, but because everybody who's part of those space hippie fleets brings something to the table. Everybody had the idea is to bring your own talents, bring what you have to the group, become a benefit for everybody. And they do that, and then also make their money that way, because they'll stop from planet to planet, open up shops, sell things, buy things, and then move on. So yeah, they're a traveling caravan. They're also, and I know some people are offended by this term, but I don't care. They're also called space gypsies as well, but the space hippie is actually a more common term. So.
Right. I still like the free love and LSD part, though. I think that's.
I mean, I'm not going to say that there isn't that kind of stuff there, but that's more about what you do with that is your business.
Yeah. What I'm trying to get at is there still needs to be a level of expertise and ability to run an entire fleet. The fleet's built around the agri ship. The agri ship is the thing that feeds everyone.
Right.
That needs the protection. It's massive. There's ones that are domed. Brandon's designed ones with domes. Some use O'Neill cylinders, and then a lot of the ships are very old. They've kept them going. They're like Cuba in the sense they know how to forge parts. They know how to make everything they need to keep that old ship running. And it may well look old and beat up, but underneath it's still solid. And it's the kind of thing, if you've got a part that you need that is hard to get hold of, you tend to visit the space hippies because they can usually make it for you because they've got the tools.
As a matter of fact, I was just sharing, because Terry wants to do some songs involving our Reckless crew, and he was having trouble, getting the vibe between them, and that is my fault. I didn't write it out as well as I probably ought to have, and so I wrote out some more detailed histories of the different members of Team Imani, Xerxes' crew, the Reckless crew, and space hippies do factor heavily into, I think, just about all of their stories, except maybe Zerx and Neela. Though I can imagine Neela maybe spending a little bit of time on a space hippie fleet. Though she got most of her skills working on Mandela 1 before it was annexed by the Imperium. So yeah, I mean, they will factor very heavily. I mean, I already have a story in mind for when we do another Tales of Wild Space book. Tales of Wild Space, by the way, people, is several books that are side stories to Wild Space Saga that don't focus solely on Zerx and Paige, but tell other tales of other people who are tangential to the story, and we often involve things that may become part of the story at a later point. And so I do have an idea for a story involving the Space City Fleet. Two particular characters on board there. One is a Felian hybrid named Ajax, and the other is his girlfriend, a tech tank named Maddie. And it's sort of kind of about their life, and also when the ship gets attacked by raiders, and it's going to be really cool to see a nice little dynamic and what it's like to be a space hippie, especially for somebody with high aspirations like Maddie, because she wants to be a ship captain. There, every fleet has multiple captains for each of the ships, so they're sort of the highest ranking people in the pecking order there. But it takes a lot to get to that point. You got it's a great deal of training. You got to be a person with a lot of you to have basically wear many different hats. So it's going to be pretty cool.
She's a great captain that works her tail off, but then at the end of the day, she beams on over to the Space Hippie commune ship for her free love and LSD.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
She doesn't really need the LSD. She can plug into a data stream and get all the fantasy that she wants.
What Brandon neglects to mention is she's a hub mother tech tank, so data flow is their thing. They can handle a lot of data. So she just hooks up.
This would be terrible, but a fun little wink to some of the fans out there would be to come up with an acronym for what she does as far as streaming the data, and make the acronym be LDS.
So I was thinking of finding unknown curious kinetics, but she goes to do that. Oh no, unified, wouldn't it? That she'd be off finding unified curious kinetics.
Like living data streamer. There we go. LDS, living data streamer.
I just want to address what Finn said about Mandela 1. That does affect a lot of people. That not just obviously the people that lived there when it was annexed, but it's the fact that the Alliance realised that they are somewhat underprepared for just how powerful the Imperium is. Their ships are not as technologically advanced. It's like the old thing against the old, Soviet stuff against US stuff, where we built the space pen, the Soviets took a pencil. Or it's 10 times the size, but it never breaks down. That's basically Alliance tech versus Imperial tech.
Yeah, and does the Alliance have strength in numbers as well?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. That would make sense. I mean, like if their tech may be outdated, but they've got, it'd be like, hey, their tanks are a generation behind ours, but we've got 500 tanks and they've got 10,000. So
if you meet like they don't have the engineered tank warriors, but they have a lot of colonists willing to fight.
Yeah.
They did attempt to solve the program. It didn't go so well.
Concerning Mandela 1, what I was going to say is that, it is a very strong influence on the histories of two of our characters in Wild Space Saga, two members of Zerx's team. It's Neela and Mabala. And because they're both from that world, Neela, it both makes them very depressed for a time. Neela kind of bounces back a bit more quickly than Mabala does, but because of Neela, she kind of becomes a grounding force for Mabala, and she recovers. But Mabala has a much more timid personality, and also, it's a big sticking point in what happens with the Alliance, because you get the Second Imperium rushes in there and annexes Mandela 1, and it folds like a lawn chair. And so, but then they're a bit more prepared. And so when they try to go in and grab Tantagel 9, another border world, they're ready to fight. And so right now,
that siege has been going on for some years. Yeah,
yeah, it's locked in kind of an unending war. And so you got them taking care of things there at least as best they can.
Yeah, and just the hype things, even though we haven't finished book 4, book 5 will feature Tantagel 9 quite heavily.
Now, there was something. Let me. Oh yeah, we were talking about space hippies and Darren. By the way, Darren, just out of curiosity, where are you coming here from? Because I think you're new here. If you don't mind us asking. But while you type that out, if you want to,
it's cool to have a new viewer. To be fair, so.
Yeah. We are very, very much grateful for new people coming in. Thank you so much. And for everybody out there who may be catching us after the fact, we hope that you'll be able to join us, as we're doing our live stream, because we will answer questions in our chat area. Right now, we don't have a lot of people in the chat area, so we don't have to do the super chat things to get people more noticed. We'll definitely
parts unknown.
So
you have entrance music as well to go with that.
Or my inner Frodo Baggins. All right, keep your secrets. But anyway, you were bringing up Stranger in a Strange Land, and then I was just talking about that I read the book. It's been a very long time. I did like a high school book report on that. And that was a very weird book. But then you brought up Starship Troopers. Now the interesting thing you brought up on that one, and I'm just getting tangential, is that you said it's let me see. What did you say? Let me scroll back up right quick. Verhoeven's adaptation of it is better. The satirical stance on fascism makes more sense. Really, in all fairness, I'm sorry. I kind of agree with there's a YouTuber named Sargon of Akkad who I follow sometimes, and he did a pretty long overview of the movie to basically show and explain that it really isn't fascist. It really isn't about fascism at all. He shows how the differences between what fascism is and the society that Verhoeven's version of Starship Troopers presents, and it's showing it. No, it's not even fascism. The republic that they have is a republic. It is more of a meritocracy type of republic, because it's a bit more like like the Romans. You had civilians and you had citizens.
No, that was me who put that reply about the fascism, because I always thought it was a dig at fascism. That's why.
Oh, dude, I'm sorry. I misread it.
As Darren said, he's put it isn't fascist. He didn't say it was. It's the opposite. Yeah. No, I always thought it was Verhoeven's dig at sort of fascist, like fascist idealism or ideologies.
Go ahead.
That's why I put that, because that's what I always thought it was, and I thought, but it's still a satirical film, and I like the satirical nature of it being that overly patriotic type film, isn't it? They'll keep fighting and they'll win.
But I would question this, because Starship Troopers, don't get me wrong, I think it was a fun film, but I think it ultimately failed in that it to the majority of its audience, they never got the sarcasm. They never got.
That was its issue. That was very much.
They just thought that it was a straightforward. This is what they present the military as being awesome and all that.
I think.
Yeah, and a lot of people went, "God, this is a bit now." And then you.
I think that's because Verhoeven let his personal views get in the way. I honestly think that is a movie where Verhoeven kind of played it too close to his heart, and it's hard to make a satirical show out of that, And it's clear that when he did that, he really didn't have a good idea what fascism was.
It was just a very obscenely and I think Darren's actually right, but
I'm having to hold my hands up and say I had a misconception with it here, but
it's just an obscenely pro-military movie.
Definitely.
And the in a fun way, and it was over the top. It did
Verhoeven does over the top.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I enjoyed it quite a bit. In fact, the battle sequence when we see the ships being hit by the meteoroids that they're throwing at them, that was really cool. I mean, there's some really cool stuff in there.
That is actually a science fiction movie that happens to have probably some of the best.
I will say, just to address the
movie.
comments of Darren, I'm happy to hold my hands up to a mistake there and a misconception. And
Right.
what you said is very reasonable. And does change my view of the film a little, but actually in a more enjoyable way. I still love it.
I would say this, as far as the fascism thing, 99% of people these days don't know what the word even means.
I think a lot of the time, there's a perception
really
with it where people think they know what it means and you have an idea of what you think it means, and then actually, no, you're confusing with a different ideology. It's just that sometimes they run parallel.
Right. Well, people know that the mustache twirling guy from Germany was fascist. And so then they just assume that every trait of him is what fascism is.
They mistake. I think the overall thing is they mistake authoritarianism.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Is an extreme form of authoritarianism. But just because you have certain authoritarian elements in a government doesn't necessarily make it.
I don't even think it's that extreme. It's actually a moderate form of socialism. It's a very moderate form. And that's the thing about fascism, is that it's not left-wing and it's not right-wing, despite the fact that people are always trying to argue whether or not it is. It's neither. It's a centrist system of government.
I don't know. I looked at the definition for it, and they do describe it as very far right wing.
Well, you know what? That just shows you who wrote the definition that you're on.
I would say potentially that the application of it is whether it becomes left or right wing. How you apply an ideology is what
so. Like
makes
Hitler used. Sorry to invoke the name. The mustache guy from Germany used.
We're not being
monetized.
monetized.
That's literally his name.
I know, but I know that some people get sensitive about that. I don't care, but some people.
But the man existed in history. You're not glamorizing him. You are literally discussing him in an objective way about historical things. So I don't see an issue with it myself.
So he was trying to create an alternative to socialism, and of course Stalin called it right wing. But the reason Stalin called it right wing was because it was right of socialism or right of communism. But it was left of capitalism, and so it falls right there in as a centrist kind of line as far as the economics of it.
Just to address a comment Finn's put with that, where about whether or not National Socialism is connected with it. Really, actually, the name National Socialist Party was a bit of a marketing thing. We're trying to appeal to everyone, because everyone's not really happy with the current people. So if we call ourselves something that's a bit of both, they'll vote for us.
Yeah, but Terry, that's the absolute beauty of fascism is that an intelligent person, like Hitler obviously was, can use fascism to appeal to whatever the masses want. So if you have masses are leaning to the left, you can create a liberal-sounding fascism form. If you have a more right-wing base, then you can manipulate it to look that way. It just depends, but really, it's about the control of the economy, and
that's what I mean. The name of the party itself didn't actually dictate the politics. It
wasn't
chosen to get people to vote for them.
Yeah, that was all just marketing. It's just like
That's it. Marketing. That's the word.
Yeah, it's just like the Democrats don't call themselves liberal, now they're progressive, right? Because that sounds better to them or something. I don't care. It's just you guys want to argue over the issue. Tell me your point, and I want to vote for whoever's better.
Well,
but
I think
what a turn this has taken, hasn't it? After talking about space hippies.
Yeah, I'd rather we get off.
But here's the thing: you gotta, and this goes back to your space hippies.
No, absolutely.
The better you define the system that the hippies are revolting against, the easier it becomes to right those hippies, because it's really like the characters will write themselves if you really know what the government is doing that's so wrong.
I would say myself, I don't know if Brandon would agree, is because everything we've got is built on the back of one massive war and a series of smaller skirmishes where the original First Imperium, the shining advanced light of, the colonies, fractured, fell apart, and you've got what remains of it trying to take control of everything again, saying we were better together, but only in our way of doing things. You've got an alliance of worlds saying, no, we don't want that. We don't really want to be with each other, but you know what? It's better than standing alone.
Right.
You've got the pirates going, we don't want any of you. And then you've got the hippies going, to be honest, I think you're all bastards. We want to do our own thing. I think that is probably the best way of describing it is, you want this, you want that, you want that, and none of it really matches up with what we want, which is to just live our lives in space.
Right.
We're a whole, we've left Earth behind. We can't find it anymore. So let's just make a life and be. And I think that's probably the best way of describing it.
So they're almost.
Their society is. They have a capitalistic structure, so they're not like socialist, particular. I mean,
that's because currency gets you everywhere. You still need to buy parts. You still need to buy fuel and resources. So
it's the structure of their society. They're more loosely. It's more loose. They have a leadership, but it's more sort of a consensus leadership, unless like it's an emergency or something like that. And some rules, to borrow a quote from Pirates of the Caribbean, but they're more guidelines than actual rules.
You've got to put the accent on. They're more like guidelines than actual rules.
I tried to, but I didn't quite nail it.
What you do is you do the farmers, you do the West Country accent, and then make it gruff. And that's how you become a pirate.
Well, I don't know how to make a pirate accent.
But the way you guys are describing it, this group doesn't sound so much like hippies to me as libertarians.
Possibly, I think it's more that's supposed to be the colloquial term for them.
It's a colloquial term, or at the very lowest a pejorative. They're not actual. Like I said, they're not the hippies that that you're thinking of.
It's what the other societies describe.
These guys should be like, the hippies from The Way to Eden from the original Star Trek. These guys should be, walking around wearing flower prints and singing songs and doing drugs.
They are and they aren't. It's just I've had to kind of put a little bit of more in because they're on spaceships and they need expertise to run them and fly them and and run their agri ships and things like that. So you can't have completely off your tits on LSD every day because you still got to fly that ship past that asteroid field.
I mean, in the defense,
wait till you pass the asteroid field, then knock back a couple of Supermans.
Now, in their defense, if you want to call them hippies, I mean, one of their favorite songs is "Shambhala" by Three Dog Night.
Well, there you go. How about if they give enough of their space LSD to somebody, they can mind control them, and that's how they. So they don't need to fly the ships; they just need to mind control someone that can.
I'm kind of okay. I don't know if you've ever read the Divergent books. Okay, well, there's a faction in the futuristic.
Some of us aren't teenagers anymore, Brandon.
Anyway, I wasn't a teenager when I read that. Anyway, one of the factions in that futuristic, post-apocalyptic, Chicago is called Amity, and their thing is friendship. That they choose to live in peace and friendship with each other. They're the ones that provided the food for the city. Now the thing is, like, if they had a particular serum, every faction has a particular serum that induces a certain thing, a thing that makes them themselves, like, okay, for instance, Dauntless had a serum that makes you face your worst fears so you can get over them. Erudite had a serum that basically can put you under their control. And when I forget the one that valued honesty, but they had a serum that made you completely spill your guts and tell the absolute truth about everything, no matter how embarrassing. Well, Amity had one that makes you the happiest mofo in the world. And I mean, what happened to Terry, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. I saw Michael just suddenly blanked out.
Sorry, I just got a message. I was checking the message out.
I'm just saying Michael just suddenly popped out. I think he must have been having computer problems or something. Anyway, yeah.
It might be his bedtime, you know. He is a grumpy old man.
Yeah. Amity gives you, it has a serum that makes you the happiest mofo in the entire world. I mean, they had the one thing where Triss was about to get in a fight with another dude, and they forced that serum on her, and she was in love with the universe. And so I'm thinking that, you know, I'm not going to say the Space Hippies is going to have something like that, but I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they had something like that, you know, to deal with people who were getting really unruly. And no, I'm not going to say that we're going to have that. I was just saying that's just an idea.
No. It's sort of aggression through compliance. You know, they don't fight in the same way. Like I said, no, at the end of the day, if someone boards your ship, you're going to pick up a gun and defend it, and they've got things like that. I've always agreed with that idea. I just like the idea of this fleet doesn't go in for huge ship-mounted weapons. They said, we're going to build the biggest big-ass shields anyone's ever seen, and you're never going to get through them. Then we don't have to fight you.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they do. I mean, they just don't want to live in any...
On occasion, if the threat is significant enough, they'll hire somebody to fight for them. Or, in the case of having Aki, you know, good old Akiko Zero, the former tank warrior who lives with them, she'll jump on a ship with a few, you know, defector friends and go and deal with the problem for them.
Yeah, they do have some, you know, many space hippie fleets do have a security force, though it's not like really huge, but yeah, it is like in case like certain really vital ships get into trouble, you know. So
I suppose I just like the idea that where most of our factions and characters, they combat veterans, they know how to fight, their ships are built for it. One faction who just rejects it, and that's sort of, I suppose, what I like the idea of doing with the Space Hippies. You know, just to give them that sort of little different flavour in that we could fight, but we really, really don't want to. Hence, why we haven't strapped big cannons to our ships. You know.
Let me see. Oh, okay. Yeah, Michael did. He sent me a message saying that he's having computer issues.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it happens.
Yeah. So he's going to try to get back on. Yeah. So the Space Hippies are going to be kind of an interesting fleet. I mean, you're going to see them, you know, here and there. Like we did have a mention of them in the second book with Pepper and Mabala just saying, hey, they got a Space Hippie fleet that's landed at this planet. We're gonna go, you know, we're gonna go, you know, do some shopping over there. And then we did also mention at the end of the third book, and this isn't spoiling anything. We just happens to have a conversation between Frosty and her mother, who is Akiko, and saying that she was going to join up with the Space Hippie fleet that was landing on the planet that they were on. So that's where we say with Akiko was, you know, join up with that particular Space Hippie fleet that we were talking about, which that she's part of. So we have a lot of stuff that's interconnected in our heads and a few little things that we've smattered here and there. And there's a lot of...
This is why we do the live stream, so then you guys could actually, you know, hopefully dive into one of our books and go, oh, yeah, we get it.
And for those of you joining us later on, you know, if you really want to see the really cool stuff we're coming up with, you know, we have our DeviantArt page where we have plenty of... Keep on hitting my mic. But we have plenty of artwork that is conceptual, gives us ideas of where we're going, what we want to do with this, that, or the other. Yes, some things are older concepts. You go way back to some of our stuff we did in the beginning where it wasn't fully fleshed out.
If you're on DeviantArt, you'll see the earliest work of Paige. She's very different to what I started her out as. She actually had all her limbs to begin with, and was just missing an eye. Now she has, you know, prosthetic limbs, and as well as still missing an eye.
And yeah, she was a real person. She'd be like, "What did you do to me, man?"
Oh no, she just was glad she still got her ample chest.
Well,
that's always a joke with her. When people say, "Why do you wear all these low cut tops?" It's like, look, these puppies are one of the few things about them that's still real.
Well, the reason why I said that is because I was reading a book on writing, and they were talking about it. Said like that this person had a teacher who was an English teacher, and they said if you're planning on writing a book, what would your character do if they ever met you? And the real answer was the best answer anyone would give is they'd probably punch me out, and that'd be probably every main character would do that to the creator is probably deck them because of all the stuff to make them go through. You think about it, yeah, it's true. Wait a minute, you're the one who made me go through all this? You're the one who made me lose my arms and get ripped into shreds by crazy androids? Yeah.
Well, then we'd better hope that never happens with Artemis.
Oh God, yeah, you're the one. You're the one who put me through, who made my early years a living hell, and then they threw me in a box and forgot about me.
Stab, yeah.
Yeah.
Artemis won't mince words with somebody. She'll just...
Yeah, for those of you who don't realize, Terry's characters carry a lot of trauma.
Mine seem to be a hell of a lot more broken than Brandon's.
Yeah.
A lot of that is just because I've always seen them... I don't know, overcoming adversity has always just been something I've liked to write. So a lot of them, they tend to have gone through hell, and they are who they are now because of that. And some of them are still addressing it. Some of them have overcome it. You know,
it's not that I don't know how to write characters to overcome adversity. There's a book I'm working on, not related to Wild Space Saga, that has a character that goes through a lot of trauma himself. So let me see.
Yeah, well, I never said you didn't. I think that's probably where mine come from. Is that for some reason it's just something I like to do with a character that they've been through something to make them who they are.
Okay. Weapon systems on spaceships are a tricky thing. I've always preferred what we see on Star Trek, the original series. Oh, just phasers and shields. I mean, well, for movies and TV shows, sometimes you got to keep things a little bit simple. You know, you start going on all the different types of weapon systems that a actual ship. I mean, hell, you take like an aircraft carrier, an American aircraft carrier. Those things have far more than just the cannons. They got a ton of different things they could throw at you or do to you than just those cannons or torpedoes or whatnot. They probably have things that we don't even know about. So,
well, most carriers are relying on the cap, to be fair, and then you've got the close-in weapon systems, which is usually used to be called the phalanx, but it's something else now. Then a number of different missile systems. Yeah. I don't think aircraft carriers are torpedo boats, so I think they actually have the destroyers for that.
I'm just thinking off the top of my head.
Yeah, no. Having had my aircraft books for years and wanting on the Tomcat and the F-18, carrier operations was something they covered in them. So it may have changed since then. These books are 20 odd years old, but you know.
Yeah. So, but what we're trying to say is simply, for the sake of simplicity, TV shows might, dumb things down to a certain small number. And especially Star Trek, the original series, they had a budget. Yeah, so
a lot of the weapon systems in Wild Space stuff, I tend to work out based on size of the ship, the power output of the ship, the budget of the operator of the ship. Because let's face it, if you haven't got a lot of money, you're not going to be able to afford plasma weapons or lasers because they draw a lot of energy. And if your power core is cheap, it ain't going to be able to produce the wattage needed for lasers. Whereas something like, say, Shadow Star or Reckless, because they run an ancient drive system, which effectively is 0-point energy, they can crank up whatever they want to use because they've got enough.
Lasers. Those things can't even penetrate our main shields.
People thrown on torpedo onto their bridge. Yes. Favorite historical ship? What, real historical ship or from anything?
I think you mean like actual historical ships.
That's difficult because there's some interesting ones and different innovations over the centuries.
I just thought one of the more innovative ones were like the Merrimack and the Monitor. They were ironclad ships, and because those ships had just used cannons back in the day, they both just kept throwing cannons at each other, and then just kept bouncing off the hull.
I was just trying to remember what our first proper submarine was. I can't remember its name. I don't think it was Dreadnought. That came later. But what I always liked was basically, in typical political fashion between disciplines, the Navy didn't like the British Navy didn't like the submariners and called them pirates because, it's not honourable to go under the water and sink things before you can see them, is it? So I think when that first submarine came back into port, they flew the Jolly Roger as a dig at the Navy. Wild Space video game. That would be.
I would see it maybe as something would be a combination of Mass Effect and Halo. Maybe not quite so military based, but would have an element of space.
I don't know, because I have an idea of really sandbox style of like GTA style in space. Well, not GTA, but the third person you can explore. Basically, this thing you'll need a supercomputer to run if I had my way. Because could you imagine rendering Jowl as a map? Because that thing is not just a world city on one level; it's a world city on multiple levels.
Well, I wouldn't make
hundreds,
it a multiplayer,
if not thousands of levels.
I wouldn't want to make it a multiplayer thing because that would be just way too big. And to make something like Jowl, you might want to have it like.
Then you'd have obviously your flight sections. Rendering hyperspace. You see, I'm going to keep interrupting him now because you've got my brain going. Rendering hyperspace would be wonderful. Yeah.
With Jowl,
and then I'll wait for him to speak and interrupt him just to annoy him now.
For Jowl, you would
I'm going to keep doing it. Blah, blah, blah.
Some area that like have a hub area and then they can procedurally generated in certain other areas. I think that would probably work best.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. For me to have a wild space game, you need a supercomputer. Bree, you're frozen. Technical difficulties.
Yeah, you see, I told you you're now you're just being quiet.
No, you froze. I think I must be freezing on your end.
Yeah, it's freezing on my end too, and it's like hiccuping, and I think that's just because it's so hot.
That's because the power of my imagination just got fired off by a Wild Space video game and basically sucked out the power of the internet as my imagination fired through it.
But it would have the relationship mechanics of Mass Effect. I don't know. Zerx is happily married. So, you would have to maybe play another character.
It'd be more if you're playing Alexa, you'd melt your processor with the amount of lovers you'd end up with. Sometimes at the same time.
Same thing if you were playing Tiger
so there's multiple lovers at the same time in an order that would surprise you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you chose a different character, you're like, yeah, for Tiger, maybe a good subplot would be, who he ends up with, or if he just wants to go ahead and stay with Akiko forever, that kind of thing.
Trying to convince his daughter that he's not a deadbeat, yeah.
Or just do sort of like it would be more of like a small dating sim kind of thing if it was Mavala with Pepper. So, yeah, that would be kind of interesting. That would have, if you would want to weave in a relationship thing. For us, it wouldn't. That unfortunately wouldn't translate well into a video game. And wow, unfortunately, it looks like Michael's still having a lot of computer issues, but because it's getting close to having this time to wrap up. Today for me is a work day, ladies and gentlemen. So as soon as it hits,
for me is a work day. So
Yeah, as soon as it hits the 4:00 thing, we're gonna have to shove off. But we still got a little time. But yeah, relationships wise, probably wouldn't be something that would translate. Wild Space Saga probably wouldn't exactly translate well unless maybe you were playing certain players. Is what we're trying to say. This live stream today has bounced around a lot.
We've had some interesting topics today. I've actually quite enjoyed it, to be fair. So, and that's Finn and Darren really kind of, as well as Mike, steering that, because we had the hippie movement and then, of course, the politics of the 60s then crept into that, then it went into other areas. It's no, but this is why we love having 3 viewers this week. Because when you guys interact, it gives us something to feed on and really work with.
Yeah, and then It was
And
one.
now the end is near. Sorry.
It's okay. There was something I was going to say and I forgot.
I know. I like doing that to you.
And yeah, I mean, we went in and out of talking about.
Shall we see if we can make him lose his train of thought by interrupting him?
The thing that we wanted to say, what I did want to say is that don't worry, for those of y'all coming in after the fact, we're not gonna get political here. We can help it. We try to.
Well, the discussion of it today was more sort of a historical thing and a philosophical thing. There was no sort of personal politics or modern politics in it at all. So
I just know that going into politics can turn a lot of people off.
It's a can of worms sometimes, but
yeah, definitely.
But I think today's discussion, because it was more of a historical thing and a philosophical one, there's no personal views in that. That was actually more interesting than anything else.
It was also us talking about the whole race swapping thing in the beginning. That can also open up a bit of a can of worms, because people have a lot of ambivalent feelings about that, depending on who you're talking to, what you're talking about in that particular case. I mean, I think we've discussed that in the past, and I always think if the character, if you've based a film on a book and the character has been well defined in the book, then you should respect the writing. This is why people are having a fit about Snape in the new Harry Potter series that's coming out in December.
But it's like, it's more the motivations behind why they've done it that I would question, rather than the fact that they've done it. If the guy's a great actor, fair play to him. That's not his fault that he was chosen in that sense. It's whether or not their motivations were, trying to get a certain crowd in, for example. That's what I would question. But I wouldn't get emotional about it or start throwing, angry slurs and things like that. There's no point. You're just like, would I question it? Yes. Would I take it any further than that? No, because I'm probably not going to watch it. So,
I know that a lot of the issues that people were having, like when Michael brought up the Odyssey, a lot of issues that people brought up about the Odyssey was, one of the issues was the new Pete Nyong'o playing Helen of Troy. Now, I looked at that and I was like, well, I know they're not going to get actual Greeks, or at least not a whole bunch, to play the roles. I mean, and in the past they didn't have
300. Greek. Yeah, who did they have playing? What's his name? Oh God, what's his name? The actor,
the guy who played Leonidas. I forget his name right off the top of my head, but I know who you're talking about.
Old Olympus Has Fallen. Yeah,
and
he's
you're
a
right.
Scottish actor. He's Scottish. He's not Greek either, or Spartan or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, so and hell, Russell Crowe playing in a Gladiator. I mean, you're not going to get Italians going in a whole cast.
Yeah,
of
but
Italians.
He was also called the Spaniard. So was he Spanish? Was he a Spanish Roman?
They called him Spaniard because he was from what is now Spain.
But that's what I mean. So it's like, and then we can even take it to Highlander. Highlander is the most comical of all. We have a Belgian playing a Scotsman, and then a Scotsman playing an Egyptian Spanish man.
I'm not a Scotsman. I'm an Egyptian.
Like, well, hang on a minute. You've got the Scotsman playing an Egyptian Spaniard, when you've got a Belgian playing a Scotsman. In fact, that's why the line came out.
That was one of the funniest. That was the funniest lines in the whole movie. Is like, I'm not Scottish, I'm Egyptian. I'm like,
I'm not Scottish. Yeah, I'm Egyptian. But that's where the line from, when he's being interrogated by the police, you talk funny, Nash. Where's the accent from? Because lots of different places. That was them taking the mick out of the fact that his Scottish accent was so bad.
Yeah, I know. It's just that, they're living for as long. Yeah, I think Ramirez was by the time he met Connor McLeod, he was over 1,000 years old. So
I like the fact that they took the mick out of Christopher Lambert's accent with that line. But again, so I don't tend to think about it too much when you've got films like that. Why is the Belgian playing the Scotsman when you've got the Scotsman? You've got the actual Scotsman in your film.
Well, Adrian Paul,
an American playing a Russian, because that's what the Kurgan was meant to be. He's from the Russian steppes.
I mean, Adrian Paul, playing Duncan MacLeod in the series, I don't know if he had to affect a Scottish accent or he was really from Scotland. I had to look it up. But in the flashback scenes, he always had a very strong Scottish accent, and then like when you do the scenes in the present, he always had an American accent. So
yeah, when you think how prevalent it's been throughout the years, like I said, John Wayne and Genghis Khan, you know, you start to think it's not. There's not. This isn't a precedent even now. It's always been done, and that doesn't necessarily make it acceptable. But there reaches a point where you think, how is this still news when it's just?
I think
it's almost common.
You can chalk it up in olden days, you know, because Hollywood was very prejudiced against people. I think Ben said they would get, instead of actually hiring an Asian person to play an Asian role, they just do heavy makeup like what they did to Mickey Rooney, you know.
Before we do wrap up, I'll give 2 examples I think I'm actually quite happy with, where Commissioner Gordon in the Batman, the Pattinson one, they chose a black actor, but they kept the 2 defining features of Jim Gordon: his mustache and his glasses. Those are the 2 defining features of Jim Gordon, and he still had them. Then Masters of the Universe, I may not have seen it, but I do know that Idris Elba still has his Duncan's mustache. They've still got the defining features of the character, even if they've not got the same skin color as they were originally. Do you know what I mean?
Personally, I like what's his face play Commissioner Gordon in the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, but because
Gary Oldman,
dead ringer for the comic book character.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Is at least the guy playing Gordon in the Pattinson Batman had those defining features: the glasses and the mustache.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I mean, that doesn't really bother me per se. Like, it's just like I said, it's a matter of.
If we take it back to 60s Batman, it was an Irishman. So
if the character's particular ethnicity and whatnot is a defining thing of that character, then I mean then you should not race swap. If it's not, and it's fine, you know. Go ahead and do it. I didn't have that big of a problem with Lupita Nyong'o because I mean. You're not going to necessarily get just Greek
I think
people
in a fantastical tale like the Odyssey, it shouldn't really matter. It's a mythological event regardless.
The problem is that what you have nowadays is it going excessively the other direction. They want, in Hollywood, it's like they want you to treat people who are not white you have to be really respectful of that race and do things exactly that way. But with anyone who's white, European, it's a grab bag of you can do whatever you want with it, you know, and that really is unfair. Anyway, I think we got to go ahead and close
tonight's on Politics with Wild Space.
And when things won't be quite so politically heavy the next round.
To be honest, I think it's just an interesting topic of discussion because people have strong views of it. So, but yeah, we have a proper discussion about it, not an argument. So I don't have any problems.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, guys, because I have to work, they got to wrap it up kind of right here, right now. So we'd like to thank all y'all for joining us, who joined us, and if you're coming in after the fact, we'd like to thank
Fatboy Slim song.
We'd like to thank you again.
Right now, right here. Right, so go on.
Thank you guys for joining again. Just remind you that if you want to check out any of our stuff on the social media, just go down in the doobly-doo. We have links to all of our stuff. We're gonna go ahead and as soon as we can change out that link for our books, so you can go ahead and get to the Amazon page. Just look up Wild Space Saga. Brandon Hill, Terrence Pegasus is on Wild Space on Amazon. You want to look up some of our books and get them. Hey, and if you so choose to get one of our books, we really would love for you to leave a review or just a thank you down here in the comment section, or even any questions or comments or snide remarks you want to leave down here. Hey,
also, this particular Law song will be up in a couple of days. I've already got the one lined up for tonight. I do appreciate, guys, if you listen to them, and if you do like them, throw a like on them. I write all the words, whether you like AOI or not. I do write all the words. Suno does the rest of it for me. But
just join. Yeah, just please subscribe to us if you want to get more great music and other new updates, little shorts. We're gonna have some really fun stuff.
Always be free as well. We'll never be putting them behind any paywalls or anything.
That's right. And follow us here on YouTube and the social medias out there. We got X account, got our books on Amazon. We got Instagram, where Terry also makes announcements for his stuff. But I make my announcements for our stuff from X, and of course there is our DeviantArt page where we put a whole lot of our wonderful concept art. So you can see us and communicate with us in those ways. If you feel so inclined, we sincerely hope you will join us and make us grow. Make us grow.
Brandon. Breathe, Brandon. Right. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Anyway, thanks once again for joining us, everyone, and so we hope you'll come back next time to join us on the Northwest Passage. So until next time, this is Brandon Hill and Terrence Pegasus.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for the comments. They've been great.
Yes, amen. And so until next time, guys, stay lucky and stay blessed. Take care.